So it's 5:01. And just to respect everyone that came on, we will get things started, okay? Firstly, for those that don't know me, I just want to make sure if I can see your screen, if you can show that you can hear me properly. You can hear us? Okay. You can hear? Awesome. All right. So for those that don't know me, my name is Mai Nguyen, and it's an honor for me to be one of the hosts for today's event. I am the Director of Marketing and Events for the social enterprise Lyceum, which you'll get to know a little bit more. And we're the hosts for the series of online learning through a group called Let's Connect Together through Social Distancing. So I just have a few house rules before I continue to introduce a couple more individuals. So if you're new here on Zoom, you should see that there's also a chat box. So if you have any questions or you want to say hello or anything, you can type in there, because throughout the whole talk, unless our speaker invite everyone to engage in a conversation, we will we will mute everyone just to keep the noise down. If you have a question, feel free to press the button or raise your hand if you have your monitor, your screen on. If you don't, please press the raise your hand or just type in the question in there as well too. Just to respect everyone's time. Hello, Matt. I see Matt just came in. So just to respect everyone, we will end at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is basically an hour from now. And however, I believe Renee might be available after a little bit. If we run over time and there's still some questions or our conversations get excited and heated and we want to carry on, we will do that. So once again, thank you so much for coming on. At this point, I want to introduce quickly the founder of Lyceum, the individual that kind of started all of this, and that is Dr. An Lan Nguyen. So I just want to give applause for Dr. An Lan.
Thank you so much, and welcome to second online section that delivered by Lyceum. We all started this out of love and compassion, because we really affected by the whole situation that all of us are in right now globally. And as one of the challenge that we are facing as parents would be, how do you handling all of these changes, uncertainties, anxiety, and at the same time, spending time at home with children that they supposed to, be at school for certain hours during the day, and you still have to do home working from home. And the challenge has always been one of the things that we keep hearing from parents. And so today, we would like to bring to you an expert, and she's fellow EI coach with me. EI stands for Emotional Intelligence. I met her at the EQ 2019 International Conference, and Dr. Skelton is was an officer in U.S. Air Force. And as you can see, the picture that she got here, I found that it's amazing that she handled both work, school, home, and everything. She got a PhD in organizational leadership and an amazing EI coach. And also she's about to publish a children's book for emotional intelligence children, how to develop EQ in children. I'm very excited about that. So let me see here. So Dr. Renea Skelton is an inspiring speaker, author, and certified EI coach. And she also a true color master trainer. Maybe you can explain what does it mean, but it sounds really important because true colors of a person, right? And recently retired from Air Force after serving 22 years. And right now she had 3 kids, one in high school, one middle school, and elementary. So you can see that she had all the ups and downs of the parenthood and the chaos, and also the pleasure. So I'm excited to introduce to you Dr. Renea Skelton, and please join me to give her a round of applause for this wonderful topic. We can give it a hand like this. Thank you.
Want myself. Thank you. Okay, so let me share my screen. Love technology. Are you ready so I can share my screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can share. All right.
Here we go. Screen. Okay. Let's start this. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
And I'm assuming everybody can hear me. New user can. Okay, so thank you for the warm welcome. This is an amazing opportunity. Like she said, I have 3 children. They keep me pretty busy. Sometimes I classify my husband my 4th child. So some of you can relate. So I really have 4. And an overweight, lazy cat, so really 5. But I'm a communication consultant. I love communication. I feel like the thing the highest rates of divorce, with actually, here's a statistic for you. 2, 7, 10, 12, and 22 years are the highest rates of divorce. And when I ask my clients, why do you think that is? They're like, oh, well, bills, or, my young children, or now I have college student stress. It's actually communication, because you're talking about all that, or you're not talking about all that. So before we begin, I want to go ahead and do a quick poll. If you can go ahead and entertain me, I want to see who my audience is and what age range of children you have. So can you launch that poll, please?
Do you see it? I just launched it.
Yes. So
please enter what is the age group of your child, and you can have multiple choice, and then you just send, click submit or something. So we have 3 votes. All right, so.
Look at y'all, all pros.
Awesome. So we have young adult, we have high school, we have the whole thing. So we have 20, we still need 3 more votes.
Wow, nobody's experiencing stress? Or nobody's not experiencing stress? That's not possible.
Nobody that have, okay, we have 3 more just join. Okay, so for people who just joined, please enter your poll to see where you are, like how, how many kids you have and which age group, so that we can, our speaker can have a knowledge about you. And nobody is free of stress.
I know.
Yes. And feel free if you're having issues with the poll, you can enter in the chat too. Tell us how old your kids are.
Yeah. And Mike, please help me to monitor the chat.
Yes, please. So while I'm going through this, if you have any questions or something that resonates with you, please say it. Raise your hand, just like they say, with the housekeeping rules up front. Because I don't want to get too far into the presentation and then you don't have your question answered. Or if we're on that subject, it's best just to entertain it at that point, okay? So let's begin. We all know that you have shown that you are experiencing some sort of chaos in your household at the moment, and it's understandable. You may find yourself thinking, oh my gosh, I just love my children, but they are driving me nuts. Or you may be thinking, how can I socially distance myself from my children? I'm sure you have thought about that. It's very normal. It's a very normal feeling, especially as we're navigating through this new norm. So you got to understand that our little people, our children, they have some big emotions. And sometimes we match those emotions as well. So today, to give you an idea of what we're going to be talking about, and I am trying to, there we go. This is my family. This is my chaotic family. This was our Christmas picture. As you can see, I have a high schooler who plays the trumpet. She's actually good. It makes it look like she's not that great, But she's playing it into the ears of my middle child who's in junior high, and she's totally ignoring. So you probably relate to this. And then you have my son. He is almost 8 years old, elementary school, and he is obsessed with his tablet. Any electronic device, he is obsessed with it. So we're trying to navigate through those boundaries at the moment. You'll see my husband over there. His hobby is making beer. So he is hugging a kegerator. And then of course you have me. I feel like my hobby is laundry. So I have this laundry basket and I'm trying to drink wine to drown out all of the white noise. So you could probably relate to my family picture.
And that's why you need the glass, right? You need the glass.
Yes, that is a huge
wine.
my photographer was like, this is amazing. So basically you're going to understand where behavior comes from. We're going to talk about certain situations that you are when you're communicating with your children, the common pitfalls. This is my favorite to talk about, is because we think we're coming from a good place, but we're actually harming our children more by the words we say. And I'm going to talk about those pitfalls. And then of course, why not? I'm going to give you some action steps. That way you can help navigate through this. And the whole bottom line objective is to create a calmer home. Okay? All right, so these pictures will probably resonate with you. Here we go. You're working from home or you're working from abroad, but then you come home and you're still working, right? There's a picture right there. Guess what? School's out, right? Texas would just announce that we are done for the rest of the year. Not done. I'm still teaching all 3 of my kids, wondering where my paycheck is. And I am literally, my son, I'm asking him questions and he's like, I don't know. And I'm like, well, I don't either. Mommy doesn't know either. So it's easy to get stressed, right? Then we become so stressed that we somehow lash out on our kids. We lash out on our loved ones, our spouses. And then it turns into feeling defeated. And we feel ashamed. And one takeaway from this is shame is the gift that others give you. Gift is the gift you give yourself. Guilt is the gift you give yourself. So shame, let me say that again because that's very important. Shame is the gift that others give you. And guilt is the gift you give yourself. Because right now we're being judged, right? We're being judged as a society. Like, hey, how come you can't balance everything? How come you can't juggle everything? I'm doing it over here. And has anybody ever heard, well, you're at home now. You have your whole family. You should be singing Kumbaya right now, right? No, I am not singing Kumbaya. I'm trying to navigate and survive. My mouth is barely below water right now, and I'm treading, right? A lot of people feel this way. And unfortunately, we're seeing a trend right now with this whole COVID crisis that there's suicides now. I mean, we just had, 2 days ago, a 7th grader committed suicide. It's this isolation. It's this, what do I do now? They're reacting. And I'm also finding, I'm coaching parents who their stress levels are so high, they're trying to figure out how to navigate through this, and they just feel alone. And you should not feel alone. So when I go through this presentation, I don't want you to feel alone. And you are not broken. Nobody is broken. We're all in this together. And think of it like a shiny coat, a very colorful coat in the corner of the room. You may think, hey, I got this down. I'm an amazing parent and I know how to communicate with my child. That is amazing. I just challenge you to look at that coat and go, maybe I should try it on to see maybe there's something that works for me and what doesn't. And if it doesn't, put it back on the rack. No judgment here, just put it back on the rack. Okay, so here we go. Look at this. 82% of parents admit to losing their patience with their children. I am one of them. I'm an expert in this field, yet however, I'm still a work in progress. And because I'm human. 4 out of 5 people. That's 4 out of 5 people. And this isolation is not helping with this. But the great news, because there's an opportunity, there's a 100% opportunity to communicate effectively and overcome this. So let us begin. Okay, here we go. We have this little goldfish right here with a little shark fin. It's because I like imposter syndrome. I mean, I don't like it. I love speaking about it. And like I said, society is constantly judging us. They're constantly saying, hey, why can't you do this? Why can't you do that? Look at me over here. I'm the expert. We're finding our kids, we're finding our communication with our kids with tantrums, right? Laziness, irregular sleep patterns. We're finding children who are regressing with bedwetting instances during this whole crisis. Talking back. Oh, you gotta love that talking back and that eye rolling, right? Everybody loves those eye rollings. And then power struggles when they try to go to bed or they try to manipulate you, or at least that's what you think. And how about this? Whose kids are constantly eating every 3 minutes? They want a snack. I'm like, how did you survive in school? Because they want to eat every 3 minutes. So these are the situations we're going to be talking about. If anyone knows me, they know I love neuroscience. So this is a picture of a brain, if you did not know. Now, your children have a brain. It's sometimes some parents find it hard to believe because they're like, why did you do that? Seriously, why did you do that? Seriously though, there's been many studies, your brain does not fully develop until around the age of 25 years old. 25. Now, I'm not saying that this should be a reason for them not to do anything accurately or have all these mistakes because their brain's not developed at the age of 25. Believe me, my kids have used this against me. But the thing is, the brain does not fully develop. The amygdala is the front or the back side of the brain, and it's basically your emotional response center. It's your fight or flight. You know, when the saber-toothed tiger is about to attack you, your amygdala takes over and you just react with emotions. Like those tantrums or just blurting out something and talking back. That's their child's amygdala taking over. The last portion of their brain to develop is the prefrontal cortex. That is the actual decision-making area of the brain. So when your child does something that you think is just so asinine and you're like, are you serious? Why did you do that? They may respond with, I don't know why I did that, right? Why did you spill the milk on the counter? Oh no, that's what you hear typically, right? Because their amygdala is taking over and they're just reacting. And that's where the tantrums come into play. So like I said, if you tell your children this, especially those ones that pulled with the young adults in the college level and the high school, don't allow them to use this as an excuse of why they cheated on a test because their amygdala took over. It's clever, but no, it's not a legit excuse. Okay, so understanding behavior. This is so important. Now, if you have a sensitive child, and this even goes with adults, believe it or not, but sensitivity, it's because they have an inner fear. Studies have shown that when a child is like sensitive, for example, if they are, when you leave the house, they're overly sensitive and they don't want you to go, there is a fear there. And you have to uncover that by asking them certain questions like, you know, when I do go out, how does that make you feel and why? Do not give them answers. As parents, that is one of our biggest pitfalls I'll talk about later. We, on average, the average human will take 3 seconds to answer their own question. 3 seconds, because we start getting impatient and we start thinking, oh my gosh, did I ask it the wrong way? Did they not understand? So just ask them these questions because fear is a normal response, especially for a child, because they're growing up and they're trying to make sense of this world we're living in, and it causes an inner fear. And there are so many kids right now who are sensitive. But sensitivity in a child, it really means that they have beautiful, deep minds and open hearts. So don't stifle that and don't change it. Just address it. Don't ever say, hey, don't be afraid of that. Parents, we do this all the time. Oh, they may whimper and cry that they're afraid of the dark. Guess what? they're not really afraid of the dark. They're afraid of what's in the dark. Nobody is afraid of falling, right? They're afraid of what happens after the fall. You see where I'm going with this? But we tend to rationalize it a different way. So you have to flip the perspective. Angry. When a child is very angry, like throwing temper tantrums and such, they actually lack coping skills. A child's going to make mistakes. They're going to make mistakes, but you need to use it as teaching opportunities. They actually, believe it or not, if your child is constantly having headaches and stomach aches, or they're withdrawing from you, they're actually, those are signs of them suppressing their anger. They're actually suppressing their anger. So their body is having a physiological, result because of it. So then they result out in anger. You have to get down on their level, and you have to ask them, what do you need? Get down. When I say get down on their level, get down. You've heard that you need to get down eye to eye, because when you're standing and towering over them, you're a threat to them. They start getting into that mode, and their amygdala takes over because they feel like they have to protect themselves by either withdrawing or lashing out. So you need to ask them, what do you need? You need to ask, how can I help you? When they're angry, and don't match their tone of voice, but say, how can I help you? And then, what can you do to help yourself? That's a very powerful question. What can you do to help yourself? And I'm going to talk more about that later on, about the coaching versus mentoring. Now, you may have a perfectionist child. I see this a lot around here. There's a lot of children who, if they make a mistake, it's like the world is caving in. If they can't find that one puzzle piece, they feel like a failure. Now, this also, another example is if they forget how to do schoolwork. For example, parents right now are trying to navigate this new norm of helping their children with their schoolwork. And heck, half the time, the parents don't even know what's going on, but they're trying to look like the expert in the room. It's okay to admit that you're not the expert. You're both learning, and this is a learning opportunity. And you will know you have 100%. You will know if you have a perfectionist child if they use, let's say, the 100% words excessively. Like, I always fail, or they never will like me. Those 100% words are good indicators that you have a perfectionist child or on the road to become a perfectionist. Now, a perfectionist child, one way you can interact with one is by flipping their narrative, flipping their perspective. They have this self-talk in their head that they're not good enough, that they feel like a failure or a fraud. This is where the imposter syndrome comes in. And adults experience this as well. You have to make sure that when they use these 100% words like I can't or I will never do this, change it. And like I said, flip it and say, I will have a go. It's an opportunity. So when they say I can't or I will never or she will never like me because she didn't invite me to her birthday party, there's an opportunity there to be like, hey, what other birthday parties have you been a part of? Because they get in this myopic tunnel vision of just that certain situation. They don't see the opportunities that they had or that's coming, if that makes sense. Now, be careful not to use the word at least. And this goes for even communicating with adults. When you at least somebody, you are taking away their power. You're painting the silver lining for them, basically, on that cloud of hope. Now, I know you're thinking in your head right now, but I'm not coming from that place. I'm actually coming from a place of helping people. And I'll give you an example. I'll give you an easy example. Let's say your 7th grader is failing math, okay? Failing math. And somebody comes up to you and says, well, at least your 3rd grader is passing art. You see that? hey, you're telling somebody, guess what? My 7th grader is failing math and I do not like this feeling. What can I do? And then your friend says, well, at least your 3rd grader's passing art. You just at leasted them. So basically you took away my power and you did not meet me where I'm at. I just want you to hear me out, to validate me, but we at least people all the time because A, we want them to feel better. Totally get it. But it's not productive because you did not meet me where I'm at. You did not validate me, and you're trying to solve my issue for me in a way. And the crazy thing is, we get so wrapped up in it. The reason why we at least people, I always call it at least. The reason why we at least people, and think about this, we feel uncomfortable ourselves, so we make it easier for us because we don't know what to say in that moment. So we at least people all the time. I cannot stand at leasting in my house. That's a disclaimer right there. It's really interesting because my 7-year-old will tattle on his sister. She just at leasted me, mommy. It's really hilarious. But yeah, we do not at least in my house. So that's the perfectionist. Like I say, flipping that perspective. And one more that I'm finding a lot with my clients is the overexcited child. Now I know, with ADHD, because my son has ADHD, with ADHD and other, issues, this is a legit thing. They can be overexcited. I totally get it. But with this is the person who's talking over you, like talking over conversations or butting in. This is the kid who is too physical, right? Gets too physical. They overreact over the good and the bad things. Not just the bad things, but the good and the bad things. And like I said, some kids have ADHD or the sensory processing issues. Totally get it. Children are not always going to be calm. Newscast. They are not always going to be calm, and neither are you. But knowing if you have an overexcited child works wonders because you need to watch for those triggers that they have. I'll give you one instance for my son. He is constantly butting in to my conversations. I could be on the phone. It's just like all of a sudden I feel like this magnet. As soon as I get on he doesn't talk to me at all until I get on that phone, and then he's like right there. I need a cookie. I'm hungry. I ate 3 minutes ago. I need another cookie. Or he just wants to say something. He's an overly excited child. So I choose to embrace it and not lash out on it, because how is that productive for anybody, right? How's that working for you? And what I do is a simple thing is if I'm on the phone or if I'm chatting with a neighbor or whatever, or my spouse, he will come up to me and he will put his hand on my shoulder or my arm. He will just, and it took a while, I'm not gonna lie, it took about a good couple days for him to finally catch on to this, but he will come up to me, and when he has something so important that he wants to say to me, he will put his hand on my arm, my hand, anywhere, and just wait and leave it there. And I look right at him, acknowledge him, because you have to acknowledge them, don't ignore them, acknowledge them, and then I continue the conversation and I wrap it up. And then once I get done wrapping it up, I turn to him and say, now what do you need? It's beautiful and it works because it shows the child I can listen. It shows the child that you're validating them and that they're important, because when you ignore them, they don't feel worthy enough. And then they will lash out in those anger, that tantrum, anything to get your attention. And guess what? They're smart little creatures, because it usually gets our attention, doesn't it? When they start lashing out. So make sure you constantly validate them and then revisit that, because it shows them that they're worthy. So just try that on. Okay, so how are we doing on time? Okay, good. Let's get curious. Now, I have been known in the speaking world as a disruptor of the status quo. I know some of you are like, what? What's going on? I am not the type of person who will say, here are 3 steps to solve your problem. Remember, I said you are not broken. I'm going to give you things to try. And if they don't work, they don't work. It's okay. At least you tried, right? So now, out of curiosity, I love the word curiosity because it allows for opportunity, right? And you're going to lose. I'm going to be upfront with you. When you try on some of these opportunities, you're going to lose. But guess what? Losing is learning, and that's amazing. You see how I flipped the perspective there? So, out of curiosity, we get rid of the assumptions. There's stress going on. There's anxiety. And as your stress and your anxiety, they become apparent and they start increasing, you try to control your child. I get it. We all have done this. You try to match their emotions because they're yelling, you're yelling. Who's going to yell louder because you're the parent? Hear me roar. I'm going to beat my hands on my chest because you are going to listen. You are the child. I am the parent. I hear this all of the time, and it's not working. How's that working for you? Right? In the words of Dr. Phil, how's that working for you? You can either be right or you can be happy. So there's power struggles. When your anxiety increases and your stress increases and you're yelling at your child, those power struggles are going to come out. And then guess what? Not only is mom or dad not happy, the child not happy, everybody in the house is not happy, and your cat may be hiding under the bed. This is usually the case. So, curiosity is important because as parents, sometimes we try to stifle their emotions, we try to suppress them and not allowing them the opportunity to release them. It's like I always say this, and this is a military term, but it's fitting here and you can understand. It's like we put a Band-Aid over a bullet hole. We put a Band-Aid over the bullet hole instead of getting to the root issue, because guess what? I hate to say it, these power struggles, they're not about you. They're not about who's going to win and who's not going to win. Okay, so how do we do this though? How are we going to do this? You have to meet the child where they're at. You have to validate them. Now, when I say validate, if they are in a temper tantrum or this angry outburst or they're talking back with their eye rolling, when they're eye rolling, don't go, I'm going to knock those eyes back in your head. You know, everybody's heard that before. Usually, I grew up in a Southern household, so I heard that all the time. Respect your elders. Yeah, those are important concepts, and those are rules that if you value in your home, that is fine. I'm not saying to change them, but validate them. If they say, for example, you always take up for her, like your sister, their sister. You always take up for my sister. You know, you're never on my side. If you ever hear that, don't go, well, no, I'm not. No, I don't. I love you all equally. Don't say all the stuff that we love to just say as parents, because even though it may be true, don't say that to them. They're not hearing it. They will shut down. You need to validate them by saying something to the effect of, oh, I can see how that can be hard for you. And leave it like that. You just validated them. You did not agree. You did not disagree with them. You met them where they're at. You met their emotion. If they are feeling defeated, you meet them where they're at. Okay? I hope that's helpful. And I'll talk about that in a minute as well. Coaching versus mentoring. Okay. As parents, I'm going to tell you, parents, we love to mentor. We love to mentor a child because guess what? We know what's best for them. We've been there and done that, right? You know how many times I used to tell my daughter when she broke up, when she didn't have many boyfriends, just FYI. I don't want to put that out there. But when she was in junior high, she would have a couple little boyfriends, not at the same time, like one boyfriend at a time. And they would break up, right? And this is me. I wanted to paint that silver lining and go, at least you had that. At least you now know he's not worth it. Don't do that. Remember I said don't do that. Or how about this one? There are many fish in the sea. They don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear there's many fish in the sea. They don't want that fish. I get it, right? But we try to do that. So I'm going to tell you something. This is kind of comical. You can tell I'm an extrovert. I talk with my hands a lot. Sorry. I need to put them down. I'll sit on them. But we mentor our kids a lot because we've been there and done that. We know what's best for them. Parents, they're not listening to you. More than likely, that's not 100%. They're listening to you, but it's not getting through. This is what it is. When you mentor to a child and say, hey, this is what I would do. This is how you should act. This is what I did in the past and it'll work for you, they will shut down because you're not meeting them where they're at. And half the time, kids do not want the advice. They just want to vent. Believe it or not, they just want to vent. Now, there is a place for mentoring. I'm not saying don't mentor, because if there is something illegal going on or about to go on or something harmful in nature, of course, mentor away. But I'm going to tell you, it's life-changing when you coach your child. Now, the big difference between coaching and mentoring is about you as a parent. You insert yourself. Coaching, it's never about you. Never. It's all about them. For example, my daughter, believe it or not, she was failing band. Who fails band, right? My kid. Because she was not bringing her instrument to school. Now, she came home to me and she said, Mom, I'm failing band. And in my head, I'm going, who fails band? But try not to be judgmental. And sometimes people think I have Tourette's of the face, so I have to hone in my facial expressions. And I said, well, why are you failing band? And she said, well, I'm not bringing my instrument. What? And in my head, I'm thinking, well, I can solve this right now. How about you bring your instrument and play? Maybe you'll pass band. You see, that's what we do as parents. But instead, I fought it, and I said, you know what? This is a coaching moment. It's not life-threatening. Let's coach. And here we go. Well, what do you think you should do to pass band? Then she would say, well, I think I should probably bring my instrument. And you're thinking, yeah, that's probably a good idea. Don't say that. Say, I could see how that could possibly work. You see, you validated. You didn't agree or disagree. You met them where they're at. I could see how that could work. Are there any other things that you could possibly do? And then they'll think, now keep this in mind, parents, when you're coaching your child, remember I said it takes about 3 seconds for you to answer your own question? They will look around the room. They will look and look and look, and then they'll look at you, waiting for that answer. Hold yourself. Do not answer. Just keep staring at them and smiling. And then they'll look around again, because you just set the precedent. You're not answering for them. And then they'll revisit you, and then they'll answer. Now, keep in mind, they may have the most ridiculous answer on the planet, and you're thinking, oh, you are going to fail. Don't tell them that. Let them try it out, because they're going to go try it out, and if it fails, they're going to come back to you and go, that didn't work. What else do you think I should do? Flip it back on them. Well, what do you think you should do? Let's try another possibility out. You're letting them take ownership of their own actions, because guess what? They will remember it. It's psychological. It messes with your neurotransmitters, and it puts it in a context for them where they take ownership of it and they will feel proud of themselves. So that's the difference between coaching and mentoring. And I can explain more on that later. It's very powerful, and guess what? Coaching is so much easier, parents. So much easier. It's like all this weight is lifted off you because you're not the expert. You're putting it back on them because they're learning. They are on the journey. It's not your journey, it's theirs. Okay, use emotional intelligence. I've already talked about this. Do not have them suppress their emotions. Do not stifle them when they cry. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. Be present, not perfect. We are constantly, like I said, being judged in society. And it's sad. It's sad. And everybody's on their own different journey. And it's important to respect that. Be present with your children. When they are having a heart-to-heart with you, or they are having an angry tantrum, that's okay. You put away that phone, give them your undivided attention, because more than likely that's what they're seeking. we're trying to do everything at once. And we're trying to add the home life and the schoolwork. And of course, the fear of getting, corona, add that in the mix. And then, like, I have 3 kids in 3 different schools. It's amazing. I call it a beautiful chaos because I choose to embrace it. Okay. All right. So look at this. Oh my goodness. This is my slide. I love this slide. Okay. So these are the things we're saying to our children all the time. Calm down. Stop crying. You are okay. Whoa. I'll talk about that one. Don't hit. I'm sure you've heard about this one. Don't take that from your brother. Don't get upset. I'm over this. Now I'm going to tell you, instead of saying calm down to your child, because you're forcing them to suppress their emotions. Instead of saying calm down, simply ask, how can I help you? Remember, don't scream it. How can I help you? Don't be screaming at them. Just be like, how can I help you? You may have to say it a couple times, parents. It's okay. Keep saying it. Another thing, here's this, stop crying. I hear this a lot from parents. Stop your crying. Stop your whining. How about, I can see this is hard for you. I can see how this is hard for you. What can I do for you? You see that? They just want to be listened to. This one, you are okay. Get up, you're okay, you're fine. It's no big deal. Instead of saying you are okay, how about this? Are you okay? Wow, that's powerful. Instead of you are okay, are you okay? You're putting the ball back in their court, all right? It's a power struggle right now. Don't hit. Oh my gosh, if I hear this one more time, don't hit. Don't hit your brother. Don't hit the cat. Don't hit me, right? Don't hit yourself. I'm even coaching kids who are hitting themselves or harming themselves. Just say, please be gentle. Because we say don't hit to try to squash it, to mitigate it right then and there, but we're not meeting them. You need to say, hey, please be gentle. And then flip it. If they've hit their brother or sister, go, hey, please don't hit. How do you think it would make you feel if they hit you? You have to rationalize with them so they can understand. Don't get upset. That's another one. Flip it and say, it's okay to feel sad. You just gave them permission, and that's powerful. You just gave them permission to feel. And you're basically, when you're doing this, you're almost manipulating the conversation to get down their level to be more calmer, if that makes sense. I'm over this. I've heard parents say this often. You know what? I'm just over this. I'm over all of this. This is very, very bad for a child because it shows them that you just cut them out. You don't really care about them in that certain situation. Instead of saying, I'm over this, like if you get to your wit's end, and you will, and it's okay. I mean, it's an emotion. Recognize it and say, I'm here for you. Because you will feel defeated at this point. Instead of saying, I'm just over this, I'm done with you. That is so detrimental to a child because then they don't feel worthy. And this works with toddlers as well because they see your emotions. They match your emotions. They model our behavior. And so that's when you say, you know what, I'm here for you. And they may not want you at that moment, but let them be them at that moment. So bottom line, don't overreact in the situation because they will match your emotions. Don't avoid the situations by saying, I'm over this. And let them express their emotions. Let them release it. Now, for the sake of time, I'm going to tell you really quickly a lot of kids are experiencing tantrums right now and regressions. Mainly tantrums, I'm noticing. There are 2 types of tantrums that I like to equate to. There's the upstairs tantrum and the downstairs tantrum, okay? The upstairs is basically, it's almost manipulation. But it is manipulation, I'll say this. It's when they will throw the biggest tantrum in the grocery store or at home, and they know that everybody is looking at them, and they kind of feel ashamed, right? They feel like, I'm being judged. And then they'll look at you, and they'll try to manipulate the tantrum to get what they want because it has worked in the past. That's why they remember it. That's the upstairs tantrum. They can think rationally with this because it's worked in the past before. Now there's the downstairs tantrum, and this is the meltdown where they don't care who's looking, they don't realize it, and they're just lashing out on everybody. This is when that amygdala takes over, and this is where you need to get on their level and basically try to calm them down with some of the things. Don't say stop crying, remember? Say, I can see this is hard for you. Try to get down on their level, because as parents, when this happens in public places, we feel like we're being judged. Totally get it. But guess what? It doesn't matter. This is a learning opportunity for your child. So I just want to give you those two different levels of tantrums. Okay, so really fast, I'm going to tell you, I've touched on this before. I do not believe in balance. We are being judged right now, and you can believe in it if you want. It's just a play on word. There's nothing ever truly balanced. We're always juggling as parents with this homeschool stuff, with this can't leave the house, or you can leave the house, you got to wear a mask, not wear a mask. Where's the toilet paper? And then of course I have to earn a living, right? Everybody has to have a job, not everybody, but it's just too many things we're balancing. So don't let the naysayers get to you. Because remember, I said this is your journey, and this is a chaotic time for everybody. We have these little things called gremlins. They live in our head. They're the ones that tell us you cannot be an effective parent if you can't communicate with your child the correct way. Or, hey, you should be a Pinterest queen right now. Look at all this time you have sitting on your couch. You should be doing all this stuff on Pinterest. Where's your new hobby, right? And how come you can't manage 3 kids at the same time and cook dinner and do laundry, and change that light bulb at the same time? These are your gremlins. This is your self-doubt. And if anybody has ever seen the movie Gremlins, this is what they look like, right? These are these nasty little gremlins. And guess what happens? Our self-talk, we get in our head so much that we start watering them. And remember, when you water them, what happens? In the movie Gremlins, they replicate. And then we become anxious and stressed. And then we start yelling at our children. So, what to do about it? Acknowledge there's an issue, right? Educate yourself. And I have tons of handouts as well. If you want to reach out to me personally, I can send those. Be authentic. Don't sugarcoat anything. Meet them where they're at. Don't lie to them, because sometimes we think our little creatures are amazing at lying themselves, and they can snip out one in a heartbeat. So if it hurts for you and if you're stressed, tell them you're stressed as well. Don't sugarcoat that, because when you tell your children you're stressed, they feel it's okay to express their stress. You will fail. Like I said, you will forgive yourself, and you will fail better next time. Now, I'm going to tell you something really quick. I have 10 minutes. I'm going to tell you what I do that's really helpful for my family. The stress is intense. I get it. And I don't know if it's going to get better. I don't know if it's going to get worse. But like I said, we're navigating through this new norm. If you eat dinner collectively as a family, I highly suggest this. Go around the table, and each person, for example, and I'll just put it in perspective for you. I will start off and I will say to my oldest, hey, what is the worst thing that happened to you today? What's the worst thing that happened to you today? She will say what the worst thing that ever happened to her during this whole entire day. And then I say, what's the best thing that's happened to you? Okay. Then she will tell me her best thing. And usually it can be like a monologue. So just bear in mind this may happen. Then after the best thing, I ask this question. What did you learn today? Now I'm going to tell you there's magic in this, because they will say their worst thing, and you want to get the worst thing out of the way, right? So they can focus on the positive of the best thing. But their learning will make the thing that was the worst part of their day a learning lesson. 9 times out of 10, that's the beauty of it, and it's amazing. And then they go to somebody else and say, you know, Daddy, what's the worst part of your day? It took him about like a good month for him to start playing, but yeah, he's got it down now. But it works wonders, because during the stressful time, that worst part of their day is probably something stressful to them. Now you may have one who goes, well, I didn't like it when my sister yelled at me or when I got in trouble. That's okay. Remember, This is not a teaching opportunity for you to mentor to them and saying, well, you should not have done that, and you should not have done this. Move on with the conversation. Go, oh, I can see how that was tough for you. But hey, what was the best part of your day? You see, you met them where they're at. Okay, so I know that's a lot of information, but this is my website if you ever want to reach me. I'm also on Facebook, like who's not. I have a podcast that talks a lot about this, a lot of communication. And you can find it on my website and go under podcast and you'll see the drop down. It's on Anchor, Spotify, iTunes, all that stuff. And I chose Battle Pod because, not because I was previous military, but we're all facing battles in our life. And sometimes we feel like we're in a pod, like we're alone, and you're not. So I address the elephants in the room and the things that people want to talk about, but are kind of sometimes afraid to talk about. And like it was stated earlier, I have a children's book going to be launched on the 1st of June, and it's all about emotional intelligence. And it's a series, The Adventures of Henry the Hedgehog. And the first book is about anger. And the amazing thing about this book series, parents, or even caregivers, is it's not just a typical book about a hedgehog that's angry. It actually has a lot of facts in it, porcupines and hedgehogs that, heck, I had an 87-year-old man read it, and he was just like, wow, I didn't know all that about porcupines and hedgehogs. This is amazing. But it also, the beauty of this book is there's prompting questions for you, parents, to ask your child while you're reading it, to help them navigate through the emotions of anger and where they feel it, who was angry to them in the past, how they were angry with others, and breathing techniques. That's the beauty of this series. Is I not only want it to entertain children, but I wanted it to open conversations with you and your child about emotional intelligence, and it allows parents to understand their emotions as well. So, if anybody has any questions, I know that's a lot of information.
Wow,
I know. Sorry.
It is so good, and it has so much. Even like I thought that I knew about all of these emotional intelligent child. I learned a lot this day. Thank you so much, Renee. And of course, we have about 6 minutes left, and this is the chance for you to. You can enter the question in the chat, or you can open the mic and just share a comment, or this is your chance to ask questions, or there are some challenge that you think maybe we can discuss or ask Dr. Skelton to help out with. Please, you have 6 minutes.
Or if I can add, first off, thank you so much, Dr. Renee, because as I listen, oh my God, I have a 1-year-old and a 5-year-old. I have to say, you mentioned a lot of the different categories, but I feel my son is a little bit of everything.
He could be. It's fine. Yes, it's normal. Believe it or not. Yes, especially they're little beings. They're still trying to figure out who they are. And whatever reaction they get, they're gonna remember that, and they're gonna stick with that.
Yes, we have a question actually. Thank you for that. From Linda. Perhaps you can answer. And by the way, if anyone else feel like sharing a moment that they learned or something they can reflect on, please feel free to do that too. Any advice on dealing with a tween who is navigating friendships, peer pressure, and finding their independence?
Yes. Okay. I have a tween myself. She'll be 13 in June. So I understand your pain. It's an awkward age. Linda, is such an awkward age. And I just challenge you, do not fall in line with saying what worked for you. Do not cave into that. Now, I would suggest that the only time that you could probably do that is if they ask you, Mom, what did you do when you were my age? They gave you that gift. But don't go on and on and on about this is what I did, because guess what? When they try to do what you did and they fail, it will hit hard for them because they feel like they're not adequate, or they'll feel like a failure. And that's where that perfectionist comes in. But talk to them. I know that sounds so cliche, but sit there, get on their level and say, how's it going in school right now? Oh, it's going great. Okay, notice I'm role playing here. Oh, it's going great. Well, tell me, like, are you having any issues, or, like, and then they'll start saying, so, yeah, this one girl in class, she was my friend yesterday, and now she's not my friend today. You know how that goes, back and forth. And you're like, oh, well, I can see how that can be hard for you. Ugh. And don't go, well, when I was your age, that was hard for me too. Don't say that. Let them be in that space. That's the thing we have issues with as parents. And then go, I can see how that could be hard for you. Like, can you tell me what happened? And they will go on, and they will take you there like you experienced the whole, they want you to experience their feelings with them. Go along for the ride. And then that's when you open up and say, you start coaching them and say, okay, what do you think you could do to help better the situation? Or why do you think she feels that way? You see, you're always pushing the question back on them. Always, don't answer the questions for them. Keep pushing that, and they are going to start feeling validated, and they're going to feel like they're being heard because nobody else hears them at that moment, right? So those are just some simple techniques right there, because they're going to go through these challenges, and it's important. Is that helpful, Linda? Where'd she go? There she is.
Yeah, Linda said thank you. And Linda, you have, if you guys are not in the Let's Connect Through Social Distancing group, I have sent it emails. You can definitely join the group, and Renee is in the group. So I'm sure you can reach out to Renee and have a one-to-one conversation on Facebook as well too. If you want to reach out, we can definitely share your email as well too, right? As well. We have another question as well. So the next question is from, just want to make sure I get that, from John. John asks, Dr. Skelton, who do you think should be better at communicating with with the child? Should it be the mom or should it be the dad?
Wow, that's a very powerful question. It sounds so cliche. It has to be a partnership, because children can be manipulative when they get to the point where, oh, mom said I couldn't, but I'm going to go see dad. So they're going to see different emotions. I'm going to be very authentic. My husband has a very green personality. He's very logical, black and white. I have a very blue personality, which means I love relationships and connections. There'll be times when I talk to my children and I will be like, okay, I can understand your frustration. Where is that coming from, do you think? He does not have time for that. He is constantly like, go to your room, do not talk. And then he will tell me, Renee, I don't need time for your psychobabble. That's what I'll call it, But it's important that you both have this partnership and that you communicate, because those children can be sneaky. They're watching and modeling your behavior, both of you. And when you have parents on both sides of the spectrum, meaning one's like lovey-dovey and one doesn't like to love at all, I mean, that sounds harsh, but like not affectionate, studies have shown that can be very stressful for a child, because they don't know how to navigate through that, because they can't go with one extreme or the other, because they feel like they're being judged, if that makes sense. So the communication needs to come from both parents. Now, will it ever be 50-50? No. But that's when you have to have those conversations. And you'll see that it's not working when your kids are starting to have tantrums and lashing out on simple things, very simple things in your head. I hope that answered the question.
Yes.
I feel like I had to pick a side there. That was
No, I like how you said, it also depends on our personality, right? As well, and our children. Mm-hmm. We have another question from Woo as well. Why do I usually make them think like I'm lecturing them? How do I change that? Like when I assume when Woo is trying to communicate to children.
Because you probably are. And you're probably lecturing them, and it's a normal response for us. It's a normal response for parents. You're not, like I said, you're not broken. It's just flipping that perspective, because guess what? You're probably telling them this, and this, and you probably had that finger up or whatever, and they feel each time you lecture them, they feel smaller and smaller and smaller. Because think of it from a child's perspective. They can't do anything right. And if you're towering over them, they even feel smaller at that point. And you may be thinking, oh, I'm telling them what to do. They're just not getting it. Because of that reason right there, they're checking out. They're becoming numb to it. And I hate to say this, sometimes when they get older, more than likely, they start regressing and they stop coming to you. They stop coming to you because they're so used to that. And parents, we have this beautiful gift of changing the neurotransmitters in our children's brains and our brains as well. So when you're constantly doing something positive, you're changing their brain functions. Whereas if you're doing something negative and you're constantly chastising and lecturing them and you feel like you're getting nowhere, they're going to end up regressing and not coming back. You're not creating that safe space for them, if that makes sense.
Okay, so there's a Kathy Lam asking this question.
And I think before we continue, I do want to respect everyone that has to leave. It is already 6:03. So normally, as we mentioned earlier, we will we are ending. But if you have questions, please hang around. Renee is still around. But I just want to recap is that after this, we are recording. It might take a couple of days for us to edit, and then we'll be able to send it out. But we had a full house today, which is amazing. And everyone wants to say thank you so much, Renee, for such an informative session. We are on the Facebook group, so please connect with us. And as well, I will be sending out an email with a survey, a quick survey. It only takes a minute. If everyone can also reply. The survey is specifically for today's talk. If you've attended the past talk, I've also already sent the survey, but it's really so that we can improve on our future events. Okay, so if anyone needs to leave or anything like that, you can, but those of you that would like to stay so that we can continue this very informative session with some of our questions, please do so. If you have any other questions, feel free to email us. You have our email from the Eventbrite. It's info@lyceumglobal.net. So please email us as well.
And
All
I
right.
want to echo my input before you leave. Please note that we have next week lining up for you great speaker too. On Tuesday, we have something about relationship buildings, customer relationship, but it's mostly Amy Castro is a communication expert. So you might want to check out on Tuesday, same time, from 4 p.m. CST Central Time. Or 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and all the same room, same Zoom link room. And also, especially for those of you who have children and want to have a fun 1 hour of fun game, Saturday, you make sure that you sign up for that, because Saturday, you need to have a desktop or a laptop for the main score, but every member in the family, so long as they have a mobile device like iPhone or iPad, each of them can play, including the parents and the children. It is going to be really fun. And please ask your child if they participate wearing the superhero costume, because we play the game called Superhero Killing Coronavirus. And it's going to be really fun. It's next Saturday at the same time, 4 p.m. So those are coming in this coming week. And thank you so much for attending. And for those of you who can stay, maybe Dr. Skelton can stay for a few minutes, right, Renee? We can continue conversation, but for those of you who we respect your time and you want to leave, then please make sure you fill in the evaluation form when we send it to you, because we look forward to creating another series in May. We would like to know what kind of topic that would be of your interest. And again, like Mai said, please join us as the Facebook group called Let's Connect Through Social Distancing with Higher Purpose. And we look forward for continuing our dialogues.